You're not getting out of jail. It makes me physically sick to look at you.
Do the DNA test that will prove me.
Don't tell me how to do my job.
I watch forensic files.
Really, Isabella? Does that make any goddamn sense to you?
Stop calling me Isabella.
That's your name.
I'm not evil. You don't even know who I am. I'm just a random girl on the street that you ambushed.
Is he insane? Does she have like a crazy family, like a completely crazy family? Is that why she's psychotic and killed her mom? Her name is Samantha.
If I could change it, or if I could take it back, I would.
She sat completely still, both palms pressed flat against the cold metal table, staring directly at the detective. There was that same strange confidence in her eyes, the kind that made it feel like nothing and no one could really hold her, no matter how tight the handcuffs were. Her face stayed calm, almost blank. Her breathing was steady, and when she finally answered, her voice came out quiet, but so firm that every word landed with weight. It sounded like a line she had repeated to herself 100 times before this moment. No jury will ever convict me. Those 6 words were not just teenage attitude or some impulsive outburst. There was something else inside them. It felt like she did not see what was going on around her as a real danger. It was as if everyone in that room were just temporary characters, and she was still convinced she would stay the main one, the one who walks away at the end. But outside that interrogation room, the world was moving in a completely different direction. And while she was saying those words out loud, the detectives already understood this was the beginning of a story that would not end well for her. Hello and welcome back, wherever you are watching from today. If you believe in our mission to uncover the truth and give a voice to the voiceless, please subscribe. It allows us to keep doing this work. I want to hear from you in the comments. I'm feeling nostalgic today. What was the make and model of your very first car? Also, please drop a comment with where you're watching from, what time it is for you right now, and what the weather is like. I really hope you won't ignore this. Now, let's get into the case. So, to understand how a girl from Aurora turned into the face that would end up all over news feeds and social media, you have to go back into the house where something heavy and unspoken had been building up for years. A house where love and fear lived side by side for far too long, and where the tension between a mother and her daughter kept growing faster than anyone around them could fully process. Isabella Guzman grew up in a family that, from the outside, looked ordinary. People saw a working mother, a home, a kid going to school, but inside that house, ordinary had been gone for a long time. Her parents' divorce, living between 2 homes, constant changes, fights over rules and authority, feeling shut out, and a slow, steady anger that never got a safe release. All of that built up in her over the years. At first it showed up as quiet resentment, then as backtalk and arguments, then as shouting, slammed doors, and threats that adults tried to write off as teen drama. But over time, the joking tone disappeared. The threats stopped sounding like a game. Her mother, Me, worked a lot, paid the bills, tried to keep the house running, and do what she thought was right. But year after year, she lived with the sense that any small misstep in a conversation with her daughter could blow up into another major scene. She could feel it with her whole body. Something inside her own home had gone wrong, and that something wrong was turning more dangerous every month, visible in the way Isabella looked at her, in the way she went quiet, and how she reacted whenever someone tried to set a boundary. One evening, just a few days before the tragedy, Me walked down to the basement where her husband was busy with something. She stopped next to him and said a sentence no mother should ever have to say about her own child. "I am afraid of her." It was not fear of raised voices or harsh words. It was a deeper, colder fear of a daughter who no longer reacted to limits at all, who no longer seemed to see other people as people. At some point, something in Isabella's eyes had changed. There was this flat, distant look, not dramatic, not loud, just empty. It felt like she was looking at her mother not as mom, but as some stranger she had renamed in her own head. So when a letter from Isabella arrived, Me did not just feel uneasy. She panicked. The letter was short, strange, written in a way that did not sound like her usual messages. The words were sharp and cold. As she read, Me felt that this was not just a moody note from a teenager. It sounded like a warning.
Yeah, they got divorced like 14 years ago.
Okay, how old was
Isabella
was
She was about 3 years old.
3 years old. Okay. Were you and me involved at that point with each other?
After they divorced, Yumi and I were involved with each other.
So was Isabella living with you guys initially?
She was living with us initially.
Okay, then it got to be difficult.
Because when she was about 5 years old, Yumi asked Robert, to take over Isabella because she was just not a very obedient child.
Okay.
And thought that Robert, her natural father, would be better for her.
Okay.
As a disciplinarian.
And how old was Isabella at the time?
She was about 5. And she had difficulties in that family. She didn't get along with her stepmom at all.
Okay. So at one point, when this all happens, and Isabella is now living with her mother, she's living with her father and his wife?
Right.
Okay. How long a period was that from the time she was 5 till?
She moved back into our house. Well, I'm trying to think now. It might have been 7. She might have been 7 when that occurred, because it seems like she was out of our house for maybe 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
So she was about 14 when she came back to live with us.
From that moment, the countdown to that night began, the night that would change everything. Yunmi decided to call the police. Not because she wanted her daughter punished or locked away, but because she hoped someone from the outside could stop something she herself could no longer control inside her own house. When she spoke to the dispatcher, her voice kept cracking. Between apologizing and trying to explain, you could hear real fear, the kind a person feels when they sense disaster coming and cannot block it. Officers arrived and talked to Isabella. They asked standard questions, trying to understand how serious the situation was. Isabella stood straight, not slouching, answering briefly, but with clear confidence. Her face barely changed. There was no nervousness in her voice, no hint of regret. She was simply watching the officers do their jobs, almost like she was watching a service being performed, not interacting with people who had come because someone in the house was scared of her. Her father tried to soften things. He told her he loved her, reached out and pulled her into a hug. She let him do it. She did not push him away. But her body stayed stiff, like she was tolerating the contact, not seeking comfort in it. This is the classic tragedy of two approaches. The father tries to fix the conflict with love, while the mother senses that the time for hugs has passed. Looking back, it is easy to judge, but I am curious. Whose shoes do you see yourself in inside that room? Would you have tried to hug her too, or would you have trusted the instinct of fear? From the outside, the situation started to look calmer, more under control. But her mother knew it was not over. She knew this calm was not real. It felt like a pause, not a solution.
And then we noticed a pattern developing with Isabella. She got in trouble for shoplifting from King Soopers. And then she got in trouble for shoplifting from the Aurora Mall. Then she did a couple of trespassing, some underage drinking at school.
Mm-hmm.
She brought a knife to school one day. She had brought it to school and she was expelled from school for bringing a weapon.
How long ago was this?
School. That was maybe 3 years ago.
This animosity that Isabella had towards your wife when she was asked to leave or had to go live with her father,
Right.
when she moved back in at 14,
Right.
how was the relationship between the two of them after that?
Very rocky
Okay.
at best.
Had they ever gotten in any physical confrontations,
None.
fights that you know of?
Not physical, but verbal.
Verbal?
Yumi would go, "You're an effing an effing B.
Okay.
Go away.
Okay.
Leave me alone." She would say these things all day. And here recently...
That was you and me was telling
that was,
Isabella that, or
No, that
Isabella?
was Isabella telling Yumi that.
Okay.
And Yumi would be like, "No, you go away." Yumi would strike back at her and say, "Don't treat your mother like that. You don't say those things to your mother."
Okay. Did you ever get involved in this intervention or intervening at all in these?
There was occasions when I did, but I realized the best course of action was to not get involved, because Isabella and I really had no problems with each other, because I just kind of stayed out of it.
Okay.
I just let her and her mom deal with it. Being the stepdad, it's easy to be the one the girl would hate.
Right.
But I just stayed out of a lot of it. I wanted to say something, but I just let my wife handle it.
Okay.
She sometimes had problems with her stepdad, too.
I was down in the basement with my fan on, and she came down to grab my fan, and she took it out of the wall, and I said, Isabella, please, you can't do that. And so she punched me a couple of times in the face. She said something in Spanish, and then punched me. She is very hot-tempered.
Hot-tempered, okay.
Very hot-tempered person. It doesn't, and she runs her mouth like crazy. F you, F this, F that. She seems very depressed, I would have to say. She seems horribly depressed about her life and blames her mom for her misery. She went to a psychiatrist for maybe a month, and the psychiatrist said, no, she's fine. She's just a typical girl.
The next day, on the surface, everything slid back into a regular routine. Yeonmi got ready for work, went through the motions, grabbed her things, drove the same streets. On the inside, she kept replaying the call to the police. The house was quiet, but it was the kind of quiet that makes every little sound feel too loud. Isabella moved around quietly. No outbursts, no shouting. And somehow, that controlled silence felt more frightening than any screaming. That evening, Yeonmi came home with dinner, walked through the door, said hello, dropped the bags on the kitchen counter, exchanged a few words with her husband, and told him she was going to take a shower. It looked completely normal, an ordinary workday ending in an ordinary way. The television was on, the house sounded like any other house at dinner time. Nothing in that moment announced what was about to happen. The water in the bathroom started running. Steam slowly filled the room and fogged up the mirror. Somewhere between the sound of running water and the background noise of the TV, Ryan heard something that did not fit. First, a dull thud, then another, then a scream, sharp and raw, the kind that shoots straight through your chest. He ran upstairs. The bathroom door was slightly open. When he tried to push it wider, someone on the other side shoved it back with force. He could see only Isabella's back tense and completely still. She was standing between him and whatever was happening inside that room. On the floor, under the gap at the bottom of the door, a dark stain was spreading. It moved outward in a slow, uneven shape. It was not water. It was blood. It was sliding out into the hallway by itself, a wordless explanation of what had already happened inside.
So I was sleeping in her room, which is the upstairs bedroom that faces the street.
Okay.
And that's where I slept last night.
Okay.
She was afraid. She'd come down to the basement. I don't want to go too fast. But she came down to the basement last night and said that she was afraid of Isabella. She said that Isabella had threatened her or cursed at her, and spit in her face.
Okay.
When she was laying down up there.
When the door finally opened all the way, the version of life that this family had known was over. What Ryan saw inside that bathroom was not something you could fix with a tough conversation or a family meeting. It was not something you could walk away from and pretend time would erase. Isabella walked out of the bathroom with a calm, measured step, a knife in her hand. She passed her mother's husband without even trying to meet his eyes. There was no panic in the way she moved, no signs of shock or collapse. From the outside, it looked more like she was leaving a room where she had just finished a difficult task, something she had already decided to do and was now simply moving on. She went down the stairs, step by step, while Ryan looked at Yeonmi and understood that everything had already ended.
This morning she showed me an email that Isabella had written that was written to her, or written to a Cecilia. It's a strange email, but it came to my wife. It came to my wife. I can't remember what the email said. It's on her phone.
Okay.
But it was very disturbing from Isabella. Something very just weird.
From that moment on, Isabella was no longer just a daughter, a student, or a teenager with a difficult personality. She became the person the entire local police force was searching for. And it was not just what she had done that made the search so unsettling. It was the way she carried herself, the way she walked away, the way her face looked when officers finally saw her. She did not run the way people run when they are horrified by what they have done. She walked like she had simply decided to step outside for some air. When the front door of the house closed behind her, Isabella did not look back. She did not sprint down alleys, did not try to disappear into the shadows. Her steps were slow, deliberate, strangely steady. She looked more like someone who had just finished a heated argument and stepped out to cool off than a person leaving the scene of a brutal crime. The night was warm and quiet, the kind of heavy summer evening when the air feels a little too thick. The neighborhood seemed frozen in that soft summer calm. Streetlights threw gentle yellow light over the pavement and parked cars. Tree shadows moved slowly with the breeze, as if the whole street was trying not to disturb the silence. Everything outside felt too peaceful compared to what had just taken place inside that house. That contrast is what made the moment even more disturbing. Anyone who might have glanced out their window had no idea who was walking down their sidewalk. Isabella walked along the road as if she had gone out for a simple evening stroll. There were no tears, no shaking, no stumbling. She did not wipe her hands, did not fuss with her clothes, did not try to hide anything, did not keep checking if someone was watching. That calmness scares me more than if she were running in bloody clothes. Adrenaline usually makes people shake or panic after a trauma, but to just walk down the street, breathing steadily, how do you see it? Is this a complete psychotic break from reality, or does it look to you like cold, calculated evil? Her movements were quiet. Her face was empty, no guilt, no fear. It was like her mind had not yet reconnected with her body after what her hands had just done. Inside the house, a completely different reality was unfolding. Chaos, shouting, sirens on the phone, Ryan's voice, struggling to put together words that did not feel real even as he said them. He repeated the address over and over, begged for help, tried to explain that his wife was in the bathroom, that the door had been blocked, that he heard blows, that there was blood everywhere. His voice went up and broke in the middle of sentences, because deep down, he already knew they were almost out of time. Paramedics ran up the stairs, opening their bags as they moved. Officers fired off their first questions, trying to piece together what had happened and in what order. But the truth in that room was too obvious and too brutal to say out loud casually. Everyone who stepped into that bathroom knew immediately. This was not a fight that got out of hand, and it was not an accident. It was an attack carried out with intent and with a level of rage that was hard to connect to the body of a 17-year-old girl. Isabella was gone. All that remained of her in that house was the image of her figure, lodged in Ryan's mind as he tried to tell officers which way she might have gone and where she could be now. Aurora was not a place where crime never happened, but this felt different from anything people were used to hearing about on the local news. The police sent out alerts quickly. Neighbors called their kids inside and locked their doors, even though it was still early enough that people would usually feel safe outside. Fear spread through the area in waves. But it was not fear of some unknown monster in a mask. It was fear of a girl many of them had known for years. The same girl they had seen at school, around the neighborhood, near the grocery stores. No one wanted to believe it was her, and at the same time, everyone understood who the police were looking for. The calls started coming in, tips about possible sightings. Someone claimed they saw a girl who looked like her at a bus stop. Someone else said they noticed her near a supermarket. But the reality was that Isabella was not hiding the way people usually hide when they are on the run. She was not trying to leave town, not changing her routes, not moving like someone who is terrified of getting caught. She was just walking. Around 9 in the evening, she walked into the H-Mart shopping center. To most people there, she was just another small, skinny girl in dark clothes passing through the aisles. But one woman, a young shopper who followed local news closely, felt that something about this girl was off. Maybe it was her stare, direct, cold, almost glassy. Maybe it was the way she stood slightly apart from everyone else, like she did not belong to that crowd at all and did not want to. The woman took a longer look, and then it clicked. It was her. She took out her phone, moved a bit farther away so she would not draw attention, and called. Her voice shook just a little, but she spoke clearly. She told the dispatcher that she recognized the girl from the news, that the girl was standing out in the parking lot alone, that she looked calm and did not seem like she was planning to run.
Aurora 911, where is your emergency?
Yes. My daughter needs help.
Do you need relief paramedics or an ambulance?
Now, I think she has to be admitted because she hurt herself or she hurt somebody else in the house.
Okay, so she's suicidal and she wants to hurt herself?
She's not suicidal, but she was planning. She can be suicidal or she can hurt me or somebody else in the house.
So did she threaten to hurt you, or you're worried she might hurt you?
She threatened to hurt me last night.
Okay.
2 in the morning. And I think she snapped. Her mind is gone, I think.
Did she do anything to herself or you yet?
I don't know about that because she locked herself in the room and she came out. And now she's in the backyard talking to her father.
Okay, so she's in the backyard, so she's not bleeding or doesn't need like a emergency as far as medical goes.
No, not the medical. It's a psychological problem.
So does she have any weapons on her right now?
She has a bat, and not with her in her room.
And what's your
I hate to do this. I'm sorry.
What's your name?
My name?
Yes.
My name is Yuni, Y-U-N-N-I. I'm her mother.
Okay.
Yuni Hoy, H-O-Y.
Okay, okay?
And I'm afraid tonight she's gonna hurt herself or hurt me.
Okay.
She's losing and she's stabbering and she's saying nonsense.
Okay, did she say how she's gonna hurt herself?
I don't know.
Okay, has she ever tried to hurt herself before or say she wanted to do this before?
She said many times she wanted to kill herself.
Okay. But she's never attempted it yet, right?
I don't know. She might try, but she never say about it to me.
Okay. Uni, I'm gonna go ahead and
now she's trying. I'm afraid of my life now.
Right. Well, I'm gonna let you go, but if anything changes, I want you to call me back, okay?
So what are you gonna do?
We're gonna send an officer out to talk to her, and then the officer can request an ambulance, okay?
And then what happened?
They'll transfer her to like a psychiatric hospital.
Okay.
And they'll help her out there, okay? I don't want you to get upset. I mean, you're doing the right thing, okay? I don't want you to regret anything later. I mean, if something bad were to happen, you'd regret that worse, okay?
Yeah, I think this is good for her in time.
That random shopper who had just gone out to buy groceries became the reason the police were able to locate Isabella so quickly. When the patrol car pulled up near the store, the officers saw her almost immediately. She was standing by the curb, hands in her pockets, eyes pointed out into the darkness, as if she were waiting for something or just listening to her own thoughts. She did not look exhausted or desperate. If anything, there was a tense kind of stillness about her, like she had already prepared herself for what was about to happen. The officers got out of the car carefully, keeping a safe distance at first. She did not flinch. She did not step back. One of them walked closer and asked her to say her name. What Isabella did in that moment later became one of the most replayed parts of this entire case. She did not just lie. She acted as if the world around her, the search, the alerts, the patrol car did not apply to her at all.
What was her attitude or her demeanor after that contact with the officers?
She seemed okay. She was friendly. Her dad gave her a big hug and told her that he loved her very much. He gave her a kiss on the cheek. And she said, I think she said, "I love you too." This was in the house when they had come back in the house before he was leaving the house.
Okay.
And, but I don't think she was very happy that her mom called the police.
Did her and her mom have words, confrontation? Was there anything?
In front of the police officers, Yumi said that they did.
Okay, were you out there when that happened?
I was not out there when that happened. I tried to stay out of it.
Okay.
And Yumi said that Isabella was throwing nonsense at her, and the police were saying, "Look, you can get a court order and have her kicked out, whether she's got a job or not."
Okay.
And Isabella, according to Yumi, just got all tight-lipped.
The officer stopped and looked at her again. He already knew who she was. He had seen the photos, heard the details, memorized her name. There was no doubt in his mind. She looked back at him with a small, almost invisible smile. It was not a happy smile and not a nervous one. It was the expression of someone who treats what is happening as a twisted game and still thinks she might win. The officers moved in slowly and put handcuffs on her. She did not pull away. She did not hang her head. She did not try to explain anything or ask questions. Her body stayed loose, her face unchanged, as if this, too, was just another scene she had expected. When they placed her in the back of the patrol car, she glanced straight into the camera inside the vehicle, almost as if she wanted to make sure that her face would be seen and remembered. That quick look into the lens is what later went viral, empty, quiet, impossible to read. She was taken to the police station. The interrogation room was plain and cold. Gray walls, a metal table, 2 chairs, and a camera in the corner. It was the kind of room where there is nothing to distract from the person sitting in the middle of it. Isabella sat upright, hands folded on her knees, staring straight ahead as if the room itself meant nothing to her. When the detective walked in and turned on the recorder, she did not flinch. She did not change her position. Her face stayed exactly the same, that flat, controlled expression with no trace of fear and no sign of remorse. The detective introduced himself, read the date and time, and asked her to confirm her name. Her answer sounded like she was not talking to a human being at all, just filling empty space with sound.
You're not getting out of jail. It makes me physically sick to look at you.
Do the DNA test that will prove me right.
Don't tell me how to do my job.
I watched forensic files.
Really, Isabella? Does that make any goddamn sense to you?
Stop calling me Isabella.
That's your name.
No, it's not.
No conscience. None.
I'm not evil. You don't even know who I am. I'm just a random girl on the street that you ambushed.
There was no doubt in her voice, no confusion in her eyes. She behaved like someone who had already stepped away from the version of reality where mom, home, responsibility, and consequences still held. Meaning, in that moment, the detectives realized this case was not going to respond to their usual strategies. When the door closed behind the detective and she was left alone, her body changed just a little. Her shoulders dropped a few centimeters. Her head tilted forward slightly, as if she were listening to something inside her own mind. She did not cry. She did not clench her fists or talk to herself. But the silence in that room felt almost loud, the kind of silence the camera captures better than any microphone. Her eyes moved slowly across the walls, settled in the far corner of the room, then shifted straight to the camera. For a second, it looked like she was not looking into a recording device at all. It looked like she was looking into a mirror. That is what it looks like when a person's mind stops fighting for control. The interrogation room was so quiet it almost felt sterile. No posters, no decorations, just the table, 2 chairs, the camera, and her. Isabella sat perfectly still, hands on her knees, and every small movement she did make seemed deliberate, as if she had thought it through ahead of time. This was not the silence of someone paralyzed by fear. It was the silence of someone who had pulled away from what was happening around her. When the detective came back in, he was not just carrying a folder. He was carrying everything he had already seen at the crime scene. He knew what the bathroom looked like. He knew how many blows had been delivered. He knew where the attack had started and how personal it all felt. Looking at the quiet, motionless girl sitting in front of him, he tried to hold both images in his mind at once and could not. She raised her eyes to him slowly, like there was no reason to rush. Her eyes were dark and empty, but there was something inside that emptiness that made people want to look away. The detective asked the first question. She answered briefly, evenly, with no change in tone. He asked another. Same reaction. But when he brought up what had happened at home, her body shifted in a way only someone with a lot of experience would notice. Her shoulders tightened just a bit. Her eyes flicked to the side for a split second, then came back. It was the kind of reaction you see in someone who hides the truth, not in the words they say, but in how they sit, breathe, and look away. At that point, the detective paused and hit play on one of the key recordings.
You left her to die, brutally, on a bathroom
I did
floor.
not murder anyone.
How does
Please
that
stop
feel?
accusing me of this.
Just tell me how that feels.
Please fingerprint me. Please fingerprint me. Please fingerprint me. I will show you that I am not this freaky, horrible person. Don't call me Isabella. That's
your name.
My name is not Isabella. My name is Samantha. There are people in this world that look alike, you know.
I'm not sure what happened with the knife she was carrying. It looked like she was still holding on to it. And I looked down and I saw my wife on the floor. Blood everywhere, all over the bathroom. I was talking to the dispatcher, and the dispatcher told me, make sure you get her breathing again. Get her airways open. I don't know, CPR.
That clip was short, but important enough that it would later be shown in court. It was not just about capturing her statements. It was about seeing how she reacted to proof that her words did not match her actions. Her reaction told them a lot. Isabella did not look scared. She did not look crushed. She did not look like someone who had just realized how bad things were. She just sat there and watched, blinking slowly once in a while, like a person rewinding a familiar scene inside their head, not to understand it, but to compare it to the story they have already chosen to believe. It looked less like shock and more like quiet confirmation. By then, the detectives understood. Regular interrogation tactics were not going to work. After that, they decided to move forward with a full psychiatric evaluation, not because she was acting loud, wild, or obviously out of control, but because there was too much emptiness where basic emotions should have been. Psychiatrists spent hours talking to her. They asked direct questions. They asked about her childhood, about her mother, about what she had felt then and what she claimed to feel now. She answered the same way she did in the interrogationroom.com, even as if each answer passed through an internal filter first. It felt less like she was just reacting and more like she was calculating which version of her answers would let her keep control. Doctors noticed several things. They saw a steady disconnect from reality, not just a temporary break. They saw that she struggled to recognize or react appropriately to other people's emotions. They noticed a strange coldness whenever the conversation turned back to her mother. And most of all, they saw a complete lack of remorse. This was not a case of someone hiding their feelings because they were ashamed or afraid to show them. This looked like a case where there simply were no feelings to show. After several days, she was sent back to jail, and the report went to the court. And it was during the first hearing that the world saw the version of Isabella that would later spread all over TikTok. When deputies brought her into the courtroom, she walked as if she were stepping onto a stage, not into a place where her future would be decided. Her pace was slow and controlled, her chin slightly raised, her hair neatly styled. Her gaze seemed to pass over the entire room at once, without actually stopping on anyone. The judge spoke. Lawyers went back and forth with questions and clarifications. Reporters wrote down lines that could turn into headlines later, but almost everyone else in the room was watching only her. Because she was smiling, it was not a wide, open smile, not a warm one, not a hysterical one. It was a thin, almost invisible micro-smile that appeared exactly in the moments when other people usually feel shame, fear, or intense pressure. She smiled when the judge said her full name. She smiled when her attorney mentioned the possibility of life in prison. She smiled when journalists lifted their cameras and focused their lenses on her face. This was not an accident. This was her default expression. Distant, steady, unnerving. At that point, the court announced that the interrogation footage would be reviewed.
So she's 110 pounds? That's really skinny. I'm 148 pounds.
Isabella, please.
Don't call me Isabella.
That's your name.
My name is not Isabella. My name is Samantha. There are people in this world who look alike, you know? You guys are not, like, all-knowing. You don't know everything. You're just accusing me of all this stuff that I didn't do.
That's you.
No, it is not.
There's no question. That's you.
She's pretty.
Yeah, you're a pretty girl. That's you.
But that's not me.
Yeah, I did slap your face, buddy.
She's a singer?
It's not even a funny game anymore.
Why would she kill anybody?
That's what we want to know.
You left her to die, brutally, on a bathroom
I did
floor.
not murder anyone.
How does
Please
that
stop
feel?
accusing me of this.
Just tell me how that feels.
Please fingerprint me. Please fingerprint me. Please fingerprint me. I will show you that I am not this freaky, horrible person. Don't call me Isabella. That's
your
really
name.
freaky. My name is not Isabella. My name is Samantha. There are people in this world who look alike, you know?
Who's that man?
We know what you we know what you did, and we know who you are. We know how it
Apparently
happened,
not,
when it
because
happened.
you guys are completely wrong. You got the wrong girl.
No, we don't. We don't have the wrong girl, and you know that.
No, I don't.
How did it feel?
How did what feel?
When you did what you did, how did it feel?
I didn't kill anybody. That's disgusting.
Did it feel good?
It's disgusting. You guys really think I'm a murderer?
Yeah, we're not joking.
Did it make you feel powerful?
Ew. Just you.
What's wrong? Hey, Rob, why don't you come on back out here for a second? Do you recognize her?
Yeah, she's my daughter.
What's her name?
Isabella.
Isabella. What's her last name?
Guzman.
Isabella Guzman. Okay. This photograph here. Is that photograph? Is that your daughter there?
Yeah.
Okay. And this is your daughter here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is he insane? Does she have like a crazy family, like a completely crazy family? Is that why she's psychotic and killed her mom? My name is Samantha.
That clip became a turning point in the case. It showed that her story did not hold together in any logical way. She did not act like someone defending herself. She acted like someone who lived in her own world and had no plans to come back from it. The next day, the judge asked to play another video. This one would later be described as even more powerful.
When I did that, and I have since been restored to full health. I was abused at home by my family for many years. My parents are Jehovah's Witnesses, and I left the religion when I was 14, and the abuse at home worsened after I quit. The fight with my mom was terrible, and I was injured in the process. I have the scars on my hands. I don't know if you can see or not. I'm not mentally ill anymore. I'm not a danger to myself or others. If I could change it or if I could take it back, I would.
After that recording ended, the courtroom went so quiet you could hear someone in the second row taking a breath too sharply. People were no longer watching the screen. They were watching her, and she sat there calmly. Her expression did not change. She did not react to hearing her own words echoing through the courtroom. In that moment, it became clear to many people that Isabella was not just a defendant sitting at a table. She was a dangerous cold, unpredictable. A person who had either lost her connection to reality or never tried to hold on to it in the first place. The judge called for a recess. People stood up, shifted in their seats, stepped into the hallway. But even as they moved around, a lot of them kept turning their heads back toward her, as if they were still searching for any sign, a flicker in her eyes, a small movement that might hint at regret or understanding. No one found it. She stood up slowly, smoothly, with that same faint smile that now felt like it had been carved into her features. A guard took her by the arm, but he did not have to drag her. She walked on her own, at the same measured pace, leaving the courtroom as quietly as she had entered it. At that point, one thing was obvious. She was not afraid. She was not anxious. She was not thinking about long-term consequences. She was existing in a separate inner space that barely touched the reality everyone else in that courtroom shared. The trial, which had stretched on for months, was finally moving into its last phase. All the evidence had been presented. All the witnesses had testified. The forensic experts had given their reports. The day came when the court was supposed to put an official end to it. By then, there were almost no people left in that room who doubted that she was responsible for what had happened. But some were still hoping to see something, even the smallest gesture, a slight change in her face that would prove she understood what she had done. Isabella walked into the courtroom that day the same way she always had, cold, slow, and outwardly relaxed. Her hands were in handcuffs. Guards walked beside her. Cameras followed her every step. For her, it did not look like punishment. It looked like another scene. She sat down without taking her eyes off the table in front of her. Then she lifted her head sharply, almost like a predator locking onto a target, and looked toward the jury box. It was as if she wanted to remind herself who was watching, who would be delivering the decision. There was no panic in her eyes, no visible tension, just a calm that made people in the room feel a chill down their spine. When the judge walked in, the silence thickened until it felt like something you could touch. Someone in the gallery clenched a tissue in their fist. Someone else placed a hand on the shoulder of the person next to them. A few people sat with rigid faces, trying hard not to show what they were feeling. And in the middle of that room sat one figure that seemed totally untouched by all of it, a girl with an empty stare and that same faint smile. The prosecutor stood up. His voice was firm, controlled, but there was tension under the surface. He gave his final statement, clear, structured, with no dramatic flourishes. He talked about the number of blows, about the aggression, about the total lack of remorse, about her attempts to manipulate during the interrogations. He reminded the jury that this case was not about a sudden impulse, it was about a conscious choice. Isabella listened almost without moving. Her eyes were fixed on a point ahead of her, not on the prosecutor, not on the judge, not on the people behind her who were crying. She sat there like she was waiting for this part of the show to be over. Then her attorney got up. His voice sounded different, softer, carrying the weight of someone trying to ask for understanding. He talked about her childhood, about psychological trauma, about emotional distance, about long and painful family conflict. He tried to draw a picture of a broken mind, not a monster. He argued that Isabella had not been in a healthy state, that her mental condition had been under pressure for a long time, that what happened was a tragedy, not cold-blooded cruelty. She did not respond. She did not turn her head toward him. She sat straight like a statue. When the judge asked her to stand, people in the courtroom instinctively held their breath. This was the moment when she would finally hear words that could not be undone. Isabella rose calmly, with the same smooth motion as always, like an actor stepping forward for a final scene. She swept her hair back over her shoulder, straightened her back, and looked straight at the judge. There was still no trace of fear in her face. The judge began to read the sentence. The words were heavy about cruelty, intent, and danger to the public. Each sentence landed like a blow that could split someone open emotionally. But Isabella did not move. Not when the key part of the sentence, the part that would define her life, was spoken. Not when someone behind her broke down in quiet sobbing. Not when the phrase, deprivation of liberty, cut through the air like an icy draft. She just stood there. And yes, she smiled again. That smile was not for the judge, not for the cameras, not for anyone in that room. It was the smile of someone who no longer lives by the normal rules of action and consequence. That smile went viral, but no one ever agreed on its meaning. Some saw it as a defense mechanism of a broken mind. Others saw the pure arrogance of a narcissist. If you were a juror sitting 3 feet away from her, looking into that face, what verdict would you have given to that smile? No one ever truly learned what she was feeling in those seconds. Maybe nothing. Maybe something so specific and private that no one else could reach it without walking her exact path. When officers led her out of the courtroom, she dipped her head forward just a little and threw a quick look out at the crowd. It was brief, but sharp enough that people later said they would never forget her eyes. It was the look of a person the world cannot easily read. The look of someone who does not seem afraid of a verdict. The look of someone who sees the verdict as just another chapter. Guards walked her down a narrow hallway where every step echoed off the walls. She walked at the same steady pace as before, not faltering, not dragging her feet. She did not look back. She did not search for anyone's gaze. She did not look broken. She was already somewhere else in that inner world where the words, "No jury will ever convict me," were still her personal truth, no matter what a real jury had just said. In the months that followed, her name spread across the internet. Her face turned into reaction images and memes. Clips of her stare became viral soundtracks. People cut her story into short, dramatic pieces, twisted it, romanticized it, stripped it of context. But outside of those TikTok edits, there was something no 3-second clip could show. There was a mother who had lived in fear inside her own home. There was a family that had lost someone they loved. And there was a girl sitting in a cell, staring at a wall, maybe still repeating to herself, "No jury will ever convict me." Only now, those words could not change anything. Not for her, not for the people left behind. This story shows that the scariest thing in this tragedy is not the crime itself, but how easily we ignore evil when it hides behind the cute face of a teenager. And exactly when parents start fearing their own children, the world turns upside down and love becomes a deadly trap. Now, write to us honestly. What outraged you more? The brutality of the murder itself, or how social media turned this killer into a style icon, completely forgetting about her victim? Are the police to blame, who came to the mother's call but left her alone with a monster? Or were they just following protocol? And if you heard you will pay for this from your own child, would you take it as teenage rebellion or as a real threat to your life? Do you have similar stories? Share them in the comments. Let's discuss this topic together. And if this story touched you, subscribe so you don't miss the next case, which will shock you even more. May you and me rest in peace. In the book of Proverbs, it is written, "A child who brings shame to a father and mother is a disgrace and a stain." And unfortunately, sometimes that stain becomes blood. Take this story as a warning. Never ignore your intuition when it screams about danger, even if that danger has your eyes. Now look at the screen. You see the next videos we prepared for you? Believe me, we tried no less there than in this video. And if this case shocked you, the next one will surpass everything you've seen. So we don't say goodbye. May God bless you, and see you there.